Good morning, cuties and comrades. Today is another beautiful day in history, and we've got critical work to do. I'm Sarah Mishnick, your critical thinking coach, and today is the final day of the week, which means we've worked our way all the way through the 5 colors of critical. We're on the last one, which is empowerment. Critical thinking is empowering. That's a huge part of the critical tradition. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. That we in the critical tradition care about taking action, about actually engaging our power as humans, and that knowledge is just a part of us using our power to do things, right? And that's what knowledge is really about. It's fueling us to do things. So we want to treat knowledge that way, is that it's leading to somewhere, it's leading to you acting in the world and doing things out there, out of your mind. Knowledge doesn't stay here, all cooped up and stuff. We let it roam free through our actions. And so, only if you are critical are you going to act in ways that are enlightened, which means educated, right? You have knowledge about things, you are informed, you have analyzed them with your own unique individual brand of thinking, and you are using those enlightened thoughts to act in ways that are meaningful to you. So you're not just doing action. And again, critical thinking is not about leading to a particular type of action. That would be an educational boot camp or training, where even if the just because we in the critical tradition, we are preparing students to be part of a political society. So it's political in the sense that they need to understand what political muscles are. And really, political muscles are empowered muscles. They're one and the same. How are you going to act? Are you going to act in an enlightened way? Great. That's what critical thinking cares about. They're not, or the critical tradition cares about. The critical tradition wants to be the fuel for a good democracy. And a good democracy has different kinds of actors, not one type of actor, different kinds of actors, individual actors who are empowered. So it is political in a sense, but it is not some sort of political boot camp where everyone who leaves the public school system would be thinking a certain way or acting a certain way. That's not the critical vision at all. At all. It is individuals empowered to act with their intention, with their determination of what is essential, with their determination of what's consequential, because they're independent thinkers. So that's the vision of a critical political sphere, is one, not a boot camp. Education's not making you do certain things. Not at all. Not at all. The opposite, actually. You decide, how are you going to act? Let's learn the lessons from history. Let's learn the lessons from our academic subjects. But how are you going to act? At the end of the day, that's the question. And you are the ultimate one who gets to decide. And why does critical thinking feel that this is important? Well, because that's what we're doing here. We're creating individual actors who can think for themselves. Think for themselves, not be told what to do by some authority. So, this is an empowering tradition. It's an empowering tradition meant to help you act in the world. How do you want to act? That's the question that all critical thinkers engage in. How do I want to act? And what am I going to use? What knowledge am I going to fuel to act in an enlightened and meaningful way to me, not robotic action for somebody else? We don't care for that. Okay, so enough of that empowerment spiel. Use your power for good stuff today. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks from my Of the People, by the People, for the People knowledge, where I have collected wisdom from people throughout time and throughout cultures, because we have always been an empowered species. AKA, we have intelligently been accumulating and producing and constructing knowledge. And with that knowledge, we take action. Always. We've always been empowered. So this is not, critical theorists didn't invent empowerment in schools. People have always found empowerment through schools, but we haven't explicitly been talking about it. How about if we actually talk about it? What if we made it a rubric on the way we're judged as teachers? Now, that would be difficult. It isn't quantifiable, but not everything that matters you can slap a number on and put a grade on. There needs to be a spirit of empowerment in your room, whether you're being critiqued for that or not, whether you're being held accountable for that or not, on your yearly review and everything. I don't miss those. And in fact, you see how I've blocked the vocabulary? I know the words, I'm just completely blanking because I do not miss those days where I was judged for my teaching. I can't even think of the words. What is it called? Those visits, observation, when you're observed, that's what they call it, observed. But there's more than that. You're being held accountable. I can't think of the word. Good. I'm over those because they're not interested in things I'm interested in. Are these things on any of those rubrics for judging teachers? No. So I'm not interested in them. Okay. What I am interested is knowledge of the people, by the people, for the people. So let's hear what others have had to say throughout time about empowerment, what it means, how to enact it. Let's figure this empowerment thing out, you guys. Let's make it part of our curriculum. The colors of critical curriculum. Okay, let's see what we got. It's a nice one. Belle, it's my girl. Bell Hooks. Come on. Oh, she's the best. Oh man, I have notes on notes on notes over here. I'm talking about on the back. I can't read it because it's crooked for me. Or crooked. It's not, I mean, sure, but it's backwards. So here I'm talking about what is empowerment? It's enhancement. It's building on things. It's transformation, which is a liberating life skill. Oh, good. Okay, and I cut a line from this, which I wrote on the back. I shouldn't have cut it because it's a good line, and I'll read it too. Okay, good. I'm glad I actually read my notes this time. All right, let's read this Bell Hooks quote. Education as the practice of freedom. Education that connects the will to know with the will to become. The will to know with the will to become. I love that. Okay, so the will to know. We've talked about that a little bit earlier in the week with Miles Horton. That's about intention. In order to be a critical thinker, you're going to need to connect these two desires in you. You have, this is why critical thinking is, look, it's really effective. It's really effective. They have thought stuff through. They've been thinking about this whole thinking process for some time. I like the conclusions they've come to because it aligns with my reality, yo. And I think your reality too. So the will to know with the will to become. Will, she says. Notice she says will. What is she talking about? She's talking about human agents matter most. If you're going to be a critical thinker, you're not just going to, someone lecturing at you, nope, not going to work. Put in the best class with the best teacher ever, that doesn't guarantee a darn thing. What guarantees that you're going to become a better learner? You. You decide. You decide. And how can you decide? What can you do? Even if you're in the worst teacher ever's class, even ever, you're in that class, how could you actually learn something of value? How can you be prepared in any situation that you find yourself in to become a better thinker, to flex your muscles? Look, I'm your critical thinking coach. I'm here to help you exercise your mental muscles, your critical capacities as often as possible. That's what I want you doing because it will make you more intelligent and you'll actually be activating your different elements of your intelligence. Okay, especially now that you have them named. So, you're the boss. You have self-sovereignty. You decide if you're learning. Okay, so even if you're in the worst possible place, you can still learn something. How? How can you motivate yourself? There's the rub. There's the rub. I would assume when was the last time I went to a gym? Oh boy, that's not my thing. All right. I'm not interested in the whole workout culture. In fact, I often quote Bell Hooks, who said, honey, I have a book body. Okay. My body is for sitting here reading books. What? Let me hear it, Sister Bell. That is also how I would like to use my body. Thank you. So, no gyms for me, not my lifestyle. You go ahead. You have the will. You choose whatever you want to choose, boo. That's fine with me. Just don't force me to do your thing. I won't force you to do my thing. But because I don't know much about that, I'm going to make some assumptions here. I think I might be right, though. A coach, what is the biggest job for like a personal trainer, a physical trainer? I'm your mental trainer. Physical trainers, what would be, I wonder if I could ask them, would it be client motivation? Person motivation? Is that the hardest part of their job? And probably the greatest part of their job? They're working with intention. They're trying to figure out, pulling you, how can they tug at your strings to help motivate you to do what you want to do anyway. Right? You want to work out. That's why you hired this darn personal trainer. Okay? You want to be inspired. You just haven't figured out the code, the cheat code, right? To type in and be like, I'm motivated now. We're not that simple. We're really complex. And actually, oh man, y'all, I have a really great metaphor for intention. We're not talking about intention today, but man, with Bell Hooks, any feminist scholar is talking about intention, okay? They know the inside and they know how important the soul is. Come on, we got to awaken the soul if we're going to do anything of value, okay? So I'm not surprised that along with empowerment, I'm also talking about intention, because with feminists, that's the same darn thing, my friend. That's the same thing. Don't get confused. Okay, so intention, here's a metaphor I like. We are, as critical theorists believe, writing our own stories. We're in control. We're in control. We have the power. We've got the power. We've got the will. So we're writing our own stories. Okay. But who is writing that story? Because there are two of you. Okay? There are two of you. You are your main subject, obviously. Obviously, hello. I'm the star of my life. Where's my trailer? No one's got me a trailer yet. There's my joke that I repeat every time I tell this story. This little quip. Okay. I'm the main character of my story. Sure. We all know that. But also, you might not recognize that you are also your own narrator. Okay. So you are, as you write your story, you are the main character. But your intention, you have, Freud talked about, and I find it useful. I don't take everything from Freud. He completely ignored the clitoris, which is about the most laughable thing I've ever heard in my life. But as Bell Hooks says, I can take other things. The water that he has to offer, I can get some nutrients from the water he's offering. It's full of dirt, honey, if you're not recognizing the power of female empowerment through the body, you're a fool. But even though you're a fool, we're all fools. Talked about that last week in this empowerment session. Check it out. We're foolish. So Freud was foolish. Fine. I'm foolish too. But he did say, what I find it useful. So the ego, right? The ego and the id and the, I forget what he calls the higher self. The ego, the id's the lower one. right? Like the base desire, sure. And then superego, superego. Okay, so ego and the superego. This is a different way, a critical way to look at uh, that dynamic. Okay, so you, my friend, the ego, hi, existing in the material world, making those mistakes, doing foolish things. That's the ego. That's the ego living in the material realm. Super ego lives in the abstract where it's way easier to live. Okay, let me go ahead and talk to my super ego. Honey, you don't have any material needs to worry about. So sometimes you forget about those material needs, super ego. And just how hard it is to live in this material world. Okay, so like my narrator every night, my super ego narrating my life for the next day is like, oh boy, we're gonna wake up so early and do some yoga, and it comes up with all these great great narrations, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be my highest self. Man, that narrator has got some plans for me. And then little ego wakes up in the morning. What's this chapter going to be? Well, is it going to live up to those narration standards? Probably not. Probably not, to the disappointment of everyone. To the disappointment of both of us. That's not happening. That's not happening. It was a nice idea, though, right? It was a lovely narration. What a lovely story that would have been. That's a different story from your material story, right? So, your main character and your narrator are at odds oftentimes, even though they're on the same team. They live in different spaces, okay? One actually has to do those things where the other can just be like, you should do those things. And the ego is the one who's got to do it, okay? Actually engage in the action. So, why is that useful? Well, that is connecting these two different wills, okay? The will to know is definitely the superego. The superego wants everything. Your narrator wants the whole life. Man, if you let your narrator go, they will plan out a whole life for you. You're globe setting. You're doing all the things that you've ever wanted to do. That bucket list stuff. That's your narrator. Those are the things you want to do and you know about, right? Because as life goes on, we realize, oh my gosh, I didn't know about that. I'm adding that to the list. I want that for my life too. Ooh, and that. Ooh, that too, right? So as we go, the list grows. But we have certain itches, right? There are certain things that we got to scratch, and it's independent for everybody. But that's what the will to know is the superego. Like, oh, honey, tap, tap, tap on your little main character shoulder. Like, yes, we got to learn about this. I want to know about this. So the main character is the one who's going to have to put in the work. Okay. The superego just wants stuff like, oh, give me this. This is the life. This is the path we're heading down. I want you to take this path, main character. And the main character is like, oh, well, now I'm going to have to do the work. Now I'm going to have to sit here and learn this stuff, right? But what's on the other side? Because just because you want to know something doesn't mean you're gonna. Just because you have a desire in your intention doesn't mean you're actually going to act it out. So that's what critical thinking is doing. Education, as in, I'm talking about the education you and I live every day, honey. Life is education. What are you learning from it right now? Is it freeing you? Are you taking in lessons from life that are making you more free? That's what Bell is interested in. If you are becoming more free through your interactions as an intelligent species in this world, you are engaging in the material process. Your main character in this realm is taking the will to know, that the narrator's desire to know, and the will to become. You are fusing that desire from this place above you that can easily come up with desires. You're taking that desire and you're linking it with action. So you're saying, not only do I want it in this abstract place, fine, my narrator wants it, But until my main character gets on board and actually engages in real action with that will, boom, now I'm becoming free. This is freedom. And y'all, that takes work. Empowerment is work. It is so easy. Boy, do I have Santa's long list of things that I want to do. Life isn't infinite. Sometimes our narrator acts as if life is infinite and that we have all the time in the world. Or maybe it's the main character putting stuff off. Like, look at this material reality in front of me right now. I don't have time for this laundry list. Well, honey, this is the only time you got. And if you want to be engaged in a process of freedom, you need to be looking at that list and saying, what do I want? What are my desires? And how do I become them? That is freedom. That is freedom. Linking the intentional with the empowerment. I'm glad they're right next to each other. That worked out. That's funny that the cycle between empowerment and intentional links back around. Maybe there's some sort of metaphysics going on here. A little cycle. No, I think they're all. It's a crazy dialectic of electricity sparking there. But I do like that they're next to each other, because empowerment only comes when you link intention to empowerment. You can't, if you don't want to know something, you're not gonna truly become that. If you don't care about what you're becoming, you're never gonna. That's not freedom. That's not freedom. So, what actions are you engaging in today? What actions are you materially? What is your main character doing? What is your main character walking toward? What are they becoming? Because you are in the middle of a chapter right now that you are writing, my friend. What are you engaging in? What activities? Because you're becoming something. Is it free? Do you care about what you're doing? Those actions you're taking? Or are those someone else's desires imposed upon you? Are the actions you're engaging in from your own interior self? Are they? Then you're not free if they're not. So that's something to think about. Something to think about. Are we cultivating a free society? Because I think she's right. Freedom is getting to live out your dreams. That's what she's saying. What dreams do you have? As far as we know, humans are the only ones. I mean, my dog is sleeping right here. His little paws are twitching. Actually, they're big paws. They're like this big. He might be dreaming, but he can never communicate those dreams to me. Humans, we have a unique gift. We have dreams and we get to communicate them. Not only that, but when we talk about theory like this, it becomes very clear that we're the only ones who can manifest our dreams, as far as we know. Animals might be. I hope they're realizing their dreams. I hope so, because at least for a human life, that's a free life. That's a free life. We get to combine the two elements of who we are. That narrator, that pesky little narrator, and your main character get to become one. Oh my gosh. Then that tension goes away, right? That frustrated at you for not waking up at 5 a.m. and doing yoga. That frustration you often feel like, oh man, I should have done that. I have so many things on my list. Yeah, you do. And you have a finite amount of time, my friend. Finite. You're going to die. When? I don't know. But it could be now. And not right now. But like anytime. We don't know. So, if you want to be the most free possible, you need to be acting on your true desires. Now, if you've got some dehumanizing desires, we're going to have to do some work on that, because that is not essential. Okay. That's the opposite of essential. That's like harmful and it's not helpful. Essential is about helping. So if you have dehumanizing desires that you want to live out, not only is it not essential to others, you're going to be harming others and doing literally taking essential things like happiness and security from them if you're dehumanizing them. So you're taking essentials from them. You're stealing what is essential, but you're also stealing from yourself. You're becoming less human when you engage in dehumanizing acts. So let me be clear that I'm not talking, a free life is not one where you act on dehumanizing desires. I tell you what, that will eat you up. It'll eat you up. You'll become less human. You'll like yourself less. Your narrator isn't evil. Your narrator, I might not know your narrator right now, but I can tell you about your narrator when you were 8. I know third graders. I know third graders like nobody's business, okay? Third graders, there is not an evil narrator in the third grade bunch. There might be some broken narrators. Sure. Some narrators that are lost. Yeah. But there are no evil narrators. Narrators become evil and dehumanizing, but not in third grade. I know kids and I know humans, so I know you. All right. If you have dehumanizing desires now, it has not always been that way, and you are in control. You can choose. Now, you might need to do some work and do some tilling of your soul and your intentions and clear out. And it's going to be work. It's going to be work. If you want to know, if you have the will to know what it feels like to be a full human, it means not engaging in dehumanizing acts. Which means if you want to become a humanizing human, which that means you're flourishing and helping everyone else around you flourish. The logic here is just like any plant or any life form at all. The logic of life lends us to humanizing. Okay? All right? Self-destruction, sure, we engage in it, but it's an uncritical way to live. You haven't thought that through. If you're being self-destructive, you're missing some components here. Okay? You can gain them back. You have them in you. You're just not engaging them all, and it's leading you down a dark path. Okay? So, yeah, this stuff is elementary, my dear friends. It's elementary. I'm an elementary school teacher. So let's work out some of that logic, huh? And become free people who engage in humanizing acts. That's empowerment, my friend. That's empowerment. That's what it is right here, right now. Happy Friday. You stay empowered out there and have a colorfully critical day and weekend. And I will see you back on Monday to talk about intention. You think about your acts today. Are they free? Are you combining your intention and your power together to be your most free and humanizing self? Oh man, I hope you are. Have a great weekend where you're living your truth, my friend. Bye.